Tom and Jerry, an old classic that both young and old seem to appreciate, a show that for some reason tends to do incredibly well on this channel of mine. And so, in hopes of finding more video ideas on Tom and Jerry for you guys to enjoy, I sat down and watched over 100 episodes of the classic Tom and Jerry cartoon. And while doing so, there were 3 main life lessons that stuck out to me. 3 life lessons that we'll be tackling in today's episode of The Meaning of Nerd Show, a high-production video series focused on the philosophy behind your favorite cartoons, anime, and more. And today's life lessons could even answer various questions of life that you may have. From what your life's purpose should be, all the way to what real friendships truly are. Because these are the top 3 life lessons from Tom and Jerry. Life is quite the interesting journey, isn't it? It's a roller coaster of events and emotions, filled with various ups and downs. An incredibly complex experience where everyone chooses their own path. Some decide to focus on one thing, while others take a completely different route. But how many of us actually choose the path we end up taking? I mean, how often have you witnessed, either in stories or in real life, that someone was chasing after something that they didn't even want? That they were stuck in a job they never desired in the first place? And why do these things happen? Well, in most cases, it's because people don't actually chase after what they want, but rather after what society or their family wants. Which leads us to an interesting concept regarding Tom and Jerry. The fact that dogs constantly chase after cars, but they wouldn't actually know what to do with one if they were to ever catch it. And they do so because, well, it's a natural thing for them to do. Dogs inherently seek to chase after everything that moves. Cats, rabbits, squirrels, or even cars. But let's be honest here, just because it's natural does not mean that it's good. I mean, my own dog, for example, almost died once because she chased after a car and actually caught it. Our luck was that she was on the leash, and so I was able to pull her back from in front of the car before it had the chance to run her over. And this story showed to me that she was chasing after something without realizing the dangers of it, and also without realizing whether she actually wanted to chase it or not. And I mean, obviously she's a dog, she doesn't have these thoughts. But this same thing constantly happens to Tom as well. He spends probably the majority of his life chasing after Jerry, destroying everything in his path and getting himself into a huge amount of trouble. But he seems to never actually know what to do with that little mouse once he catches him. Sure, we are led to believe that he wants to eat Jerry, but he never actually follows through with it, does he? And I am aware that it's because it's a kid's show and so they wouldn't want to show that, but let's actually consider it in the way things always play out. Why does Tom chase Jerry? Well, it's the natural thing to do. It's what cats have always done and will probably always keep doing. It's also what his owner constantly asks of him. But does Tom himself actually want that too? Or is he just endlessly chasing after something he doesn't even care for? And therefore, to apply this thought to our own lives as well, ask yourself, what are you pursuing? Who are you doing it for? And are you sure that you want it as well? Maybe it's a job, or a degree, or maybe simply the choice of getting a pet. Whatever it may be, are you truly aware of what the outcome is? And if so, are you sure you want that outcome for yourself? That you're doing it because you want it? That you're doing it because you think it'll help you? Or are you just doing it because everyone else expects you to? Because after all, it's the normal way, the natural way things are supposed to go. Throughout the show, we constantly see how Jerry gets the better of Tom. How he outwits and outsmarts this cat that is a multitude of times bigger and stronger than himself. And of course he does. After all, size isn't all that matters. Now, size obviously does matter if you know what I mean, but it's not all that matters. I mean, let's just take a quick look at us humans, for example. For a species that was able to conquer the world and manipulate it to its will, we certainly are pathetic when it comes to our physical prowess. I mean, in comparison to animals, we certainly lack a lot of physical skills, don't we? We can't fly, we can't run all that fast, swimming has never been one of our strengths, we lack basic protection from the elements, and we don't even possess claws, fangs, or tusks to protect ourselves. But then, how the hell did we get so far? Well, it's because we made the best of our situation. We developed tools and weapons to make up for our lack of physical ability. We then used those exact tools to chase other animals whose skin and fur we then used for protection from the elements, and whose meat, organs, and fat gave us all the nutrients we would ever need to survive. And as far as we know, this is the story of how we humans came to be. A story in which we were the little mouse named Jerry, and where the odds were completely stacked against us. But also a story where we used our brains and knowledge to make up for that, showing to the entire world that size alone, strength alone, is not the end-all be-all. While they do matter, brains also matter substantially as well. But I also want to make sure that this is not used as an excuse to fall back on your brains alone. To tell yourself that you have no need for working out and eating proper food because you are that one genius that can always rely on his brains. After all, there's no point in having a brilliant mind but the body of a vegetable. And of course, on the other hand, there's also little reason to have a great and strong body but the mind of a vegetable. A good balance needs to be found between the two, so that your body can sustain your brain and your brain can think of better ways to strengthen your body. A beautiful synergy between both, a collaboration between brains and brawn.
You never thought you'd miss that cat, did you? Feeling kinda lonesome, Look at him. You can't live with him, but there's no fun without him.
This last lesson is one that I especially like. It's a lesson about friendship and what it really means. And believe it or not, Tom and Jerry is a great place to look at when trying to answer this question. And why? Well, because Tom and Jerry are actually friends. I'd even go as far as to argue that they are best friends. But how could that be, you may ask? Surely I've been watching the wrong Tom and Jerry then. Well, no, not really. There are many episodes that prove my point. From Lonesome Mouse, where Jerry gets Tom kicked out of the house, but then instantly regrets it because he misses his old pal, all the way to more subtle examples like The Night Before Christmas, where Tom throws Jerry out of the house but feels really bad afterwards for doing so, because the poor guy is freezing outside. Needless to say though, they are definitely not enemies. And I believe that the episode that perfectly summarizes their relationship is Push Button Kitty. An episode in which Tom's owner has had enough of his inability to finally catch Jerry, and so she gets a robot cat that will take care of the job. And, well, it does exactly that. Jerry gets taken care of, and Tom is then kicked out of the house because of his uselessness. It's an episode that shows to me that Tom and Jerry, they probably chase each other for one of two reasons. Sometimes it's really just to have some fun together and to get on each other's nerves like friends do, but other times, I think it's to prepare themselves for life. They know that the owner may replace Tom at any given moment. After all, she has done exactly that on multiple occasions. And so, I like to see Tom and Jerry's rivalry more as a way for Jerry to be prepared for a cat that may actually want to eat him, and for Tom as a way for him to keep his position as a useful cat and therefore to not be kicked out. And this is what real friends do. They can be comforting and respectful, yes, but let's be honest. The best friends we tend to have are the ones that oftentimes treat us like trash. Friends that call us all the names in the books, that get on our nerves, and that sometimes can even drive us crazy. But all of these traits are traits that prepare you for life. Because life itself won't be treating you any better than that, so don't expect that from any of your friends either. They are not supposed to be there to just comfort you with pretty lies. Lies that may make you feel better, but also lies that will in no way prepare you for what reality has to offer. Lies that will do more harm than good. So make sure you know who your real friends are. And of course, if this teasing and friendly abuse is one-sided only and goes too far way too often, then that is probably not a friend. Especially if you've addressed the issue to them in the past. But otherwise, if it's a mutual relationship, then all of this teasing and irritating is actually a great experience to have. One that will prepare you for many hardships life has to offer. One that comes from a real friend. A friend that is not afraid of insulting you because he respects you. He knows that you can take it. And it's exactly these types of friends that you know you can count on. Real friends. Not those who just say nice and comforting words. Thanks for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Over here we use philosophy and psychology to better understand life and to find our own meaning within it. There are many exciting things coming up, so if I were you, I'd subscribe and turn on notifications to stay up to date. See ya!